Did you know that a country smaller than Montana produces more manufactured goods than the entire continent of Africa? Germany doesn't just participate in European manufacturing. It absolutely dominates it, controlling nearly 30% of the entire European Union's industrial output. But here's what's truly shocking. The secret behind this $2 trillion manufacturing empire isn't what most people think it is. While everyone focuses on German engineering precision and luxury car brands, the real story lies buried in a web of hidden strategies, cultural phenomena, and economic policies that have been decades in the making. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how Germany became Europe's undisputed manufacturing king, and trust me, some of these revelations will completely change how you see global economics. But before we dive into this industrial rabbit hole, let me ask you something that's going to blow your mind by the end of this video. What if I told you that Germany's manufacturing dominance has almost nothing to do with being better at making things and everything to do with a psychological trick they've been playing on the entire world for over 70 years? Let's start with some numbers that will make your head spin. Germany's manufacturing sector generates approximately $2 trillion annually. To put that in perspective, that's larger than the entire GDP of India, a country with 15 times more people. Germany produces more manufactured goods than the United Kingdom, France, and Italy combined. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't always the case. Rewind to 1945, and Germany was literally in ruins. Cities were flattened, factories were destroyed, and the country was divided by the Allied powers. Yet somehow, within just 3 decades, West Germany had not only rebuilt, but had become the manufacturing powerhouse of Europe. How did they pull off this miraculous transformation? The first piece of the puzzle lies in what economists call the Wirtschaftswunder, or the economic miracle. But calling it a miracle misses the point entirely. This was calculated, strategic, and absolutely brilliant. While other European countries were focusing on rebuilding what they had lost, Germany was reimagining what manufacturing could become. Here's where the psychology comes in. Germany understood something that other nations completely missed. Manufacturing isn't just about making products, it's about creating trust. And they weaponized this trust in ways that still dominate global markets today. Think about it. When you hear made in Germany, what's your immediate reaction? Quality, right? Reliability, engineering, excellence. But here's the kicker. This reputation wasn't earned through superior products alone. It was carefully crafted through one of the most sophisticated branding campaigns in human history, and it started with a humiliating trademark law from the 1880s. Originally, Made in Germany was meant to be a warning label. British manufacturers were so concerned about cheap German knockoffs flooding their markets that they lobbied for a law requiring German goods to be clearly marked with their country of origin. The idea was to shame consumers into avoiding German products. Instead, Germany turned this intended insult into the world's most powerful manufacturing brand. But the real genius wasn't just in the branding. It was in the infrastructure they built around it. Germany didn't just focus on making good products. They created an entire ecosystem designed to support manufacturing excellence. This ecosystem has 4 pillars, and understanding these pillars is crucial to understanding Germany's dominance. The first pillar is the apprenticeship system, and it's unlike anything else in the world. While other countries treat vocational training as a backup plan for students who can't handle university, Germany made it the cornerstone of their manufacturing strategy. Nearly 60% of German young people enter apprenticeship programs, spending years learning not just technical skills but absorbing the cultural values that make German manufacturing special. Here's what's brilliant about this system. It creates a workforce that doesn't just know how to operate machinery, they understand the philosophy behind German manufacturing. They're trained to see quality not as an add-on feature, but as the fundamental purpose of their work. This creates a competitive advantage that's almost impossible to replicate because it's not just about technology or capital investment, it's about human psychology and cultural values. The second pillar is something called the middle stand, and this might be the most important concept you've never heard of. The Mittelstand refers to Germany's medium-sized companies, typically family-owned businesses that have been operating for generations. These aren't household names like BMW or Mercedes-Benz. Instead, they're companies you've probably never heard of that dominate incredibly specific niches. For example, there's a German company called Krones that makes about 70% of the world's bottle filling machines. Another company, Trumpf, dominates the global market for industrial laser cutting systems. These middle-stand companies are what economists call hidden champions. They're not famous, but they're absolutely crucial to global manufacturing supply chains. What makes the middle-stand so powerful is their long-term thinking. While publicly traded companies are pressured to deliver quarterly profits, family-owned middle-stand companies can invest in research and development for decades without immediate returns. They can weather economic downturns that would destroy their competitors, and they can build relationships with customers that span generations. The third pillar is Germany's unique relationship with labor unions. In most countries, the relationship between management and labor is adversarial. Companies try to minimize labor costs, while unions fight for better wages and conditions. Germany flipped this dynamic on its head with something called co-determination, where worker representatives actually sit on corporate boards. This sounds like it should create conflict and inefficiency, but the opposite happened. Because workers have a voice in long-term corporate strategy, they're more willing to invest in training and accept temporary sacrifices for long-term competitiveness. Because management knows they need worker buy-in for major decisions, they focus on sustainable business practices rather than short-term cost cutting. The result is a manufacturing workforce that's not just skilled but emotionally invested in their company's success. German workers have some of the highest productivity rates in the world, not because they work longer hours, they actually work fewer hours than most developed countries, but because they work smarter and with greater commitment. The fourth pillar is Germany's approach to innovation, and it's completely different from what you see in Silicon Valley or other tech hubs. While other countries chase disruptive technologies that might change everything overnight, Germany focuses on incremental improvements that accumulate into massive competitive advantages over time. German companies don't typically invent entirely new product categories. Instead, they take existing products and make them better, more efficient, more reliable, and more precisely engineered. This approach is less flashy than creating the next social media platform, but it's incredibly powerful in manufacturing, where small improvements in efficiency or quality can translate into billions of dollars in competitive advantage. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. All of these pillars, the apprenticeship system, the middle stand, co-determination, and incremental innovation, were not accidental. They were deliberately designed in the aftermath of World War II as part of Germany's strategy to rebuild not just their economy, but their international reputation. German policymakers understood that they needed to create a form of capitalism that was distinctly different from both the American model and the Soviet model. They needed to prove that Germany could be a responsible, stable partner in the global economy. Manufacturing became the vehicle for this transformation, and the results speak for themselves. But Germany's manufacturing dominance goes deeper than just good policies and cultural values. There's a geographic and logistical component that gives them an almost unfair advantage in European manufacturing. Germany sits at the heart of Europe, with more neighboring countries than any other European nation. This means shorter supply chains, lower transportation costs, and faster delivery times to major European markets. Moreover, Germany invested heavily in transportation infrastructure, not just roads and railways, but inland waterways that connect their industrial centers to seaports and international markets. The Rhine River system alone handles more cargo than many countries' entire transportation networks. This geographic advantage compounds with their manufacturing expertise to create what economists call network effects. Because so many suppliers and customers are located in or near Germany, it becomes increasingly attractive for new manufacturers to locate there as well. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle that makes German manufacturing dominance even stronger over time. But let's talk about some specific industries where German dominance is absolutely mind-blowing. Take the automotive industry, which most people know about. Germany doesn't just make luxury cars, they dominate the entire automotive supply chain. German companies produce everything from engine components to electronic systems to specialized manufacturing equipment used by car companies around the world. Here's a statistic that will shock you. German automotive exports are worth more than the entire GDP of most countries. But automotive is just the tip of the iceberg. Germany dominates machinery and equipment manufacturing to an even greater degree. German companies make the machines that other countries use to manufacture their products. This is incredibly strategic because it means Germany benefits not just from their own manufacturing output, but from the manufacturing growth of other countries as well. When China's manufacturing sector expands, Chinese companies often buy German machinery. When American companies automate their factories, they frequently choose German equipment. Germany has positioned itself as the supplier to the suppliers, which is arguably the most powerful position in global manufacturing. The chemical industry is another area where German dominance is staggering. Companies like BASF, Bayer, and Covestro don't just make consumer products. They make the chemicals and materials that other manufacturers need to make their products. This creates another layer of strategic advantage because Germany profits from manufacturing growth regardless of which country is doing the manufacturing. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of German manufacturing dominance is how they've adapted to changing global conditions. When low-cost manufacturing shifted to Asia in the 1980s and 1990s, many experts predicted the decline of German manufacturing. Instead, Germany doubled down on high-value, technology-intensive manufacturing that couldn't easily be replicated in low-wage countries. They pioneered what's now called Industry 4, the integration of digital technologies, artificial intelligence, and automation into manufacturing processes. Rather than seeing automation as a threat to employment, Germany positioned it as a way to maintain manufacturing competitiveness while keeping production in high-wage countries. This strategy has been incredibly successful. While other developed countries saw manufacturing jobs migrate to Asia, Germany actually increased manufacturing employment and maintained their share of global manufacturing output. They proved that you can manufacture in high-wage countries if you're smart about how you do it. The numbers around Germany's trade balance tell an incredible story. Germany consistently runs one of the world's largest trade surpluses, meaning they export far more than they import. This isn't just about automotive exports. It's about a comprehensive manufacturing ecosystem that produces goods the rest of the world wants to buy. But here's what's really fascinating. Germany's manufacturing success has created some unexpected challenges and criticisms. Other European Union countries sometimes complain that German manufacturing dominance creates trade imbalances within the EU. Some economists argue that Germany's export success comes at the expense of domestic consumption and creates instability in the broader European economy. These criticisms highlight an important point about Germany's manufacturing strategy. It's not just about making good products. It's about creating systematic competitive advantages that are difficult for other countries to replicate. The apprenticeship system, the Mittelstand culture, the approach to labor relations, the geographic advantages, these all work together to create what economists call institutional complementarities. This means that you can't just copy one aspect of the German model and expect the same results. The system works because all the pieces fit together and reinforce each other. This makes German manufacturing dominance remarkably resilient because competitors would need to transform their entire economic and social systems to truly compete. Looking toward the future, Germany faces some significant challenges to their manufacturing dominance. Climate change and environmental regulations are forcing manufacturers to completely rethink their processes and energy sources. The transition to renewable energy is particularly challenging for energy-intensive manufacturing sectors like chemicals and metals. Germany's response to this challenge is typically German. They're not just adapting to environmental requirements, they're trying to turn environmental compliance into a new source of competitive advantage. German companies are pioneering green manufacturing technologies that could dominate future markets, just as traditional German manufacturing dominates current markets. The digitalization of manufacturing presents both opportunities and risks. On one hand, Germany's expertise in automation and precision engineering positions them well for smart manufacturing systems. On the other hand, digital technologies could potentially reduce the importance of traditional manufacturing advantages like skilled labor and geographic location. Perhaps most significantly, Germany's manufacturing sector faces demographic challenges as the population ages and birth rates decline. The apprenticeship system that has been so crucial to German manufacturing success depends on young people choosing manufacturing careers over service sector alternatives. But if history is any guide, Germany will find ways to adapt and maintain their manufacturing leadership. The same strategic thinking that transformed a devastated country into Europe's manufacturing powerhouse in the decades after World War II is still evident in how German companies and policymakers approach contemporary challenges. The real secret to Germany's $2 trillion manufacturing dominance isn't any single factor. It's the systematic integration of cultural values, educational systems, business structures, government policies, and geographic advantages into a comprehensive approach to manufacturing excellence. What makes this particularly remarkable is that this system was largely designed and implemented in the aftermath of national catastrophe. Germany's manufacturing dominance represents one of the most successful examples of strategic economic development in modern history. Understanding Germany's manufacturing success offers important lessons for other countries trying to build or rebuild their manufacturing sectors. It shows that manufacturing competitiveness isn't just about having the lowest costs or the most advanced technology. It's about creating integrated systems that support manufacturing excellence across multiple dimensions. The story of German manufacturing dominance is ultimately a story about the power of long-term thinking, systematic investment in human capital, and the willingness to build institutions that support collective success rather than just individual profit maximization. As we look at current global economic challenges, from supply chain disruptions to climate change to technological transformation, Germany's approach to manufacturing offers a blueprint for how countries can build resilient, competitive manufacturing sectors that create value for workers, companies, and society as a whole. The $2 trillion secret isn't really secret at all. It's hiding in plain sight in the form of apprenticeship programs, family-owned companies, collaborative labor relations, and a cultural commitment to manufacturing excellence that has been built and maintained over multiple generations. Germany's manufacturing dominance proves that in a global economy, the countries that succeed aren't necessarily those with the most natural resources or the lowest costs, but those that are most strategic about building and maintaining competitive advantages that align with their unique strengths and circumstances. So the next time you see a product labeled "Made in Germany," remember that you're not just looking at the result of good engineering or quality control. You're looking at the output of one of the most sophisticated economic systems ever created, a system that transformed national humiliation into global dominance through decades of patient, strategic investment in manufacturing excellence.